If you're a health or a life coach who really wants to know how you can show up more authentically in your business, then on today's episode of the show, I'm going to talk all about what it means to be really wholehearted in your business. I'm going to share a bit about my own journey and a bit about what being wholehearted means to me, and also how I can help you grow your business with more authenticity and alignment. Let's dive in. Hi there, welcome to the Wholehearted Business Show. I'm Laura. I help heart-centered and highly sensitive health and life coaches get more clients, grow their businesses, and live the best lives while they do it. And today on the show, we're talking all about what it means to be wholehearted in your business, what it means to grow your business with authenticity and alignment, what it means to show up in your business in this way. And I'm going to share a little bit of my business journey, what my businesses all look like, and also what being wholehearted means to me, because, it is kind of my made up term. So I'm going to share a bit more about what it means to me as well, and also share a little bit about how I can help you, which essentially comes down to joining my group program, Wholehearted Business, which is open. So if you are listening or watching this episode of the show as it goes out in the week that it goes out, the doors to my 12-month one-to-one and group program, Wholehearted Business, are open. I am going to talk a little bit more about the program at the end of this episode. Please stay tuned whether you're interested in the program or not, because you might learn something about how to structure these things. I'm going to talk through my kind of framework and things like that as well at the end, so do stay tuned for that. But do go and check out the program. I have talked about it quite a lot on the show. It is amazing. So today I thought it'd be really interesting just to talk a bit about what my journey in businesses look like. I often get this question, and while I've answered it in different places, just for anyone who's new to the show, I thought it would be really interesting just to briefly talk about what my kind of business journey's been like and how I ended up in this place where being wholehearted in business has been so important to me. So to go backwards in time a little bit, I trained as a health coach in 2012. My job before becoming a coach was working in the community and voluntary sector, for the non-profit sector, for those of you guys in the States who refer to it as that. So I was working in a charity, I was supporting other charities, I was doing things like business planning, I was supporting them with lots of stuff, lots of transferable skills, shall we say, into the business side of running a coaching business. And at the time, I had gone through a really big health transformation myself. My transformation was really a weight loss journey and like a health and vitality journey, and I was blogging about it at the same time. I became really interested in health and well-being, and decided, when I learned that there was such a thing as a health coach, I knew that I didn't want to train as a nutritionist, but when I learned that you could be a health coach, I thought this sounds amazing. Trained as a health coach, and that was absolutely wonderful. And I spent quite a bit of time at the start of my business journey actually taking those skills and using them in my local community. So I was running a community project with children, young people in care homes, and helping them with, learn how to cook healthy meals. I was working with men's groups. I was working in all kinds of different community settings and doing that work there, as well as coaching online clients who primarily found me through my blog. So hence why I'm so big on blogging. I've always been a blogger at heart. It's what I started off doing. So that was where I started. I had my own private company. I set up my limited company the day before I turned 30. I think it was right the day before I turned 30. So it's been like 13 years now, actually. I'm 43 now. So the day before I turned 30, I set up the limited company. And I also set up at the time a community interest company, like a social enterprise, with a colleague. And that was where we were delivering these community programs. So that's where it all started. And I was doing that, and I was, privately coaching. And then I fell pregnant with my son, which was amazing. And, I'd had some fertility struggles and all sorts of stuff. And it was really amazing when I fell pregnant with Finley. And at the same time, I was also still working a little bit part-time in my employment while I was building the coaching business and the other business up. And that post was basically made redundant. The funding for that post, as often happens in the community voluntary sector, just ceased to be available. So it was kind of like a good thing at the time, because it really helped me to be like, right, actually, I need to take this step. It's the right time. It's safe to take this step. I'm ready to do that. So I left my old job, went full-time in my health coaching business. It was also around about the same time. So I was pregnant, and I also had a recipe book contract. So it sounds a lot more grander than it is, but basically I had a contract to write a recipe book, which I did. You can go on Amazon if you search my name. They should still come up. They are quite old now, but I wrote a recipe book. I also wrote another one. I've got 2 recipe books, grains as mains and coconut oil. So my health coaching business was just really thriving. And then I had my son very quickly. So really, I have never had a period of time when I've been running a business completely like without anything else going on. So I had Finley. He was 5 weeks early. Then he was born with a heart defect. The first few months of his life were really, really hard. And then, Finley was little. I was kind of building my business up. He was going to nursery a couple of days a week, but I was still had this business. I was working very, very part-time, and it was fantastic. I was doing all this work that I loved. I was developing group programs. I was selling like small digital products. I was really expanding what I was doing in my business and loving it. And that was when other health coaches started to ask me, well, how are you making this work so well? What is it that you're doing? And asking me for advice. And that was when the business kind of mentor and stuff started to take off, because I did already have a bit of that business background from the work that I'd done with charities and other third sector organisations and social enterprises. So it wasn't like a completely new thing, as well as obviously the success that I built up myself in my own business. I also had a background in design, so I was designing my own websites, and then people started to ask me to do that as well. So that kind of took off. So I kind of had two things going on. Now, as with any business, and I will say this repeatedly, growing a coaching business of any kind, it is like any kind of business really, is a really big personal development journey. It is going to mirror back to you all of your shit. It's going to mirror back all of the ways that you sit in lack, all of the issues, like so many things are going to get mirrored back to you. So there was definite things that I struggled with that I had to overcome on my journey, and I'm going to share some of those things in case they resonate with you as we go on. So overcame lots of like difficult things, had to work really consciously to build this up. And then when my daughter was born at the end of 2019, I had just created a new online course called Wholehearted. And I mean, actually, Wholehearted comes from, my blog was originally Wholeheartedly Healthy. And I really loved the word wholehearted because it felt like it really summarised the way that I wanted to live my life, the way that I wanted to show up in this really wholehearted, like not half-arsed kind of way. And I really loved the word, and that carried into the business stuff and really became quite an ethos for me around the way that I show up and do business with people as well. So I had my daughter at the end of 2019. It just created this course called Wholehearted, which was all around health and well-being. And it felt like, without really realising it at the time, it felt like I had kind of just put out into the world, this is my ethos and approach, my signature system around how we support our health and well-being in the world as it is. And I felt like I was just kind of done. I felt like I'd done my work, like put my stuff out in the world that I wanted to around the health and well-being side of things. And it just kind of felt like it was done. So I had my daughter and I was faced with this decision. Like, I can't run two businesses with a baby and COVID. And I had to make a decision as to what I decided to not do anymore. And I decided to move forward with the business coaching because I felt that sense of completion with the health coaching. So I'd share that because this is often a question that I get. But I think what really came through for me in terms of like this being wholehearted in business and the ways in which I wanted to show up, I think, partly this is just the way that I do things. I find it really difficult to do things in any other way. But what I really realised through this journey of growing my business and some of the things that set me back and some of the struggles was that there was a lot of things being suggested that you do to grow a coaching business that just felt wrong to me. And for a long time, I felt like there was something wrong with me for not wanting to do them. Like, I knew that I was a hard worker. I'm not afraid of hard work. I'm not afraid to put the hours in. I knew that I wasn't afraid to push myself out of my comfort zone. But even though there was still something about some of the things that were being suggested that I do to grow my coaching business, it just felt really uncomfortable. And that was when I really started to explore the alignment piece and the values piece of work. Now, again, I come from a background of, working with social enterprises, a very ethically minded, social justice based kind of background. Like, that is where I come from. That is, the roots of who I am. It's like the social activist kind of part of me, like, has been there for a long, long time. And I think there's just something that just clashes. A lot of the stuff that we were seeing in the coaching industry, kind of coming through like kind of 2015 forward, was just really like, this just doesn't feel good. Like, to the point where I did have a coach at one point kind of suggest like we put something on my website that wasn't true, basically, in order to attract clients. And, and it was just like, yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. Like, that's just not okay. That really doesn't feel right to me. And it was going through that process that really, and understanding the ways in which I am heart-centered and highly sensitive, the way that I do have like a very strong, response to rejection. I can be a bit of a perfectionist. And there's reasons for all of that, and exploring what all of that is and kind of working through that. But that was where I came to this point of, I want to be really wholehearted in the way that I do business and the way that I show up in my business. And I believe, like, the hill that I will die on is that I honestly believe that when you do show up in your business like this, that the clients will come. I mean, yes, there's some strategy that we need to apply, but I think when you're being a genuine person, when you're being your genuine self, not having to push against who you naturally are and expend all of the energy that you would be expending if you were trying to be something that you're not, basically. So that's one of the fundamental kind of things about the way that I do the work that I do. And to me, that is one of the things that underpins Wholehearted. So I always love that term. And then there's Brené Brown has her, I think it's 10 pillars for wholehearted living, which really resonated. And I hadn't been aware of that before I chose the word wholehearted for Wholeheartedly Healthy, and then brought it into Wholeheartedly Laura and Wholehearted Business. So that's kind of a bit of the background of where that's come from. And I hope that that's an interesting story for you guys to listen to and hear how that has all evolved for me. But, you know, some of the things that I struggled with in my own kind of coaching business journey, you know, not really knowing how to structure some of my offers. Like, I had ideas, and honestly, I just experimented a lot, and it took, you know, again, in terms of my growth, like, that took a lot of time, but I did a lot of experimentation with things to find out what was working for me. I really struggled with, at times, and I would say, like, not continuously, but there has been times when I've really struggled with the financial sustainability piece. I've always been honest, you know, I think I've, you know, shared my income and things like that over the last few years in behind the scenes episodes. And there have been times when I've struggled with, like, the financial sustainability and not feeling financially safe. And again, that's something I've worked really, really hard on. So I'm in such a different position now. And, you know, again, some of you guys will know that I am in the process of a separation and a divorce, and being able to know that I am financially stable enough to be able to pursue that. And again, you know, part of this for me as well was, you know, looking at my life and knowing that I'm putting this out as being a wholehearted person in this business. I need to be wholehearted in every other area of my life, or else I'm just being a fraud. And I think this comes into walk and you talk a little bit. And, you know, part of my divorce and separation, like, part of that was about really asking myself in my relationship, was I really being my true wholehearted self, and making decisions based on that. So it all kind of interlinks. So yeah, so that's a bit of the background of being wholehearted. That's what wholehearted means for me in business. And like I say, I really genuinely believe that when we do show up with authenticity, and I know authenticity is a word that gets chucked around a lot these days, and it's become a little bit meaningless, but in all honesty, I do think that when we do show up in that way, when we do, you know, be ourselves, when we do, like, go with the flow of who we are instead of trying to fight it. And then that's not to say that we're not gonna need to push out of our comfort zone. It's not to say that we're not going to need to self-reflect. It's not to say that we're not going to need to apply strategy. You know, it's not to say that we're not going to have to examine our mindset, but it means that we are doing all of those things with that underpinning of, I am in that relationship with myself and in that relationship with my business, and I'm able to challenge myself, but also remain true to myself. And that's really at the heart of what we're all about here, basically. That's a long-winded version of it. So as I said, I really struggled with some things in my own journey, you know, from all of that, you know, the structural things, you know, in terms of, like, structuring offers and things like that, marketing, visibility, my God, really, really struggled. Like, niche, when I was a health coach, I just wanted to talk about everything, and it was so difficult to niche. And I really, like, that kept me stuck for a good year. Really, really went through the mill, which is one of the reasons why I love talking about niche and messaging now, because I know how effective it is when you get it right. So I really struggled with that. Undercharging was something that I really struggled with as well, and that's been an ongoing process. And again, the alignment and authenticity piece comes into that as well, and about being happy with the prices that I have, but not being afraid to increase them over time and things like that. And like I say, the financial stability thing has been completely transformed. That's something I'm really proud of that I've done over the last couple of years, and really, you know, excited to be helping other coaches with this in their businesses, because it's really fundamental, and being able to help other coaches with that as well, because it's really fundamental for us to feel the way that we want to feel in our businesses, which is something that I've talked about with some people who came into my little 5-day cozy coaching business experience spark. We talked about some of these things too, and also to kind of just recognizing the ways in which I needed to be, like, energetically resourced and supported enough to do the work that I do and to be able to have the growth. So yeah, there's my bit of a ramble on what it means to be wholehearted in business and the ways that I do it. I think it's walking your talk. I think it's being authentic. I think it is being prepared to have that relationship with yourself where you are challenging yourself, but you're doing so knowing that you honour who you are in that process. And I think running your business in that way is really magical in business. So as I said, I've currently got the doors open for Wholehearted Business, my 12-month one-to-one and group programme. We cover 6 key areas of business in this program. When you cover these 6 areas, it's going to help you create a sustainable client attraction system. We have our foundations, which is your niche and message, your website, and also building your business in a way that you know is going to create the lifestyle that you want. We have your marketing, so how are you going to get in front of new people? And we've got lots of different strategies and things underneath that. We've got your connection and lead generation. So how are you going to build relationships with people, nurture them, help to grow the know, like, and trust through your email list, potentially through other means like challenges, other conversion events, webinars. We've got your sales as well. How are you actually selling? Do you have a sales process in your coaching business? Because if you don't, you really, really need one. We've got your sales. We've got your offers. Like, how are you creating and structuring your offers? Do you have multiple offers that all work together? Do you have like an offer ecosystem? All of that stuff. And then we've got your internal systems, planning and mindset. And we cover all of those 6 areas because my method of growing a coaching business is about working on all of these things in tandem in a very specific way that we teach inside Wholehearted Business, so that you can generate the coaching business that you want, in terms of getting new clients, in terms of getting the sales in that you want, in terms of making the money that you want. But at the heart of it is you and what is uniquely you and what you need, and your authenticity and your wholeheartedness. That's really at the centre of what Wholehearted Business is all about. You can check out the link in my bio. Like I said, the doors are open. It is not a super expensive program by a long shot for what it is that we cover. It's incredible value, and that's really important to me. I want to be accessible and I want to provide great value. You get a lot of stuff from me in there. You are not just a number. Like, this is not a massive program. We have, under 30 people in there. My big thing with this is that I want you to feel seen by me in this program. I have been in programs where there's been 100 people and I just shrink and feel invisible, and I don't want that experience again. When you are heart-centered and highly sensitive, it's really easy to feel like that in these programs, and I wanted to create a program that was for people like us, where I could give you that attention and that support, but without a crazy high price tag, because I know that that's really difficult to access when you are at the first couple of years of your coaching business. So that's really what Wholehearted Business is about. It's lots of support. It's lots of really great trainings and teachings on my philosophy of how you create a business and how you run a business. So if you resonate with anything that I've said today, please do check out Wholehearted Business. You can see all of the information on the page, the link in the description. Go and check it out. It is a fantastic program. Obviously, I would say that, but I do gush about this program. It's wonderful. I'd love for you to go and check it out. The doors close on Thursday, the 25th of September at 8 p.m. UK time. If you have any questions, just give me a shout. You can email me, Laura@wholeheartedly.Laura, or you can DM me on Instagram. I'm at wholeheartedly.Laura on there. Pop me a DM and I will respond with any questions. But I hope that's been interesting. I know this is a bit of a different episode of the show, and I was really wondering, what did I want to talk about when it came to kind of bringing in Wholehearted Business into the show? And I think the primary way that I run my business, the way that I show up my business, and what underpins Wholehearted Business ultimately is this. It's really informed by what I see as working for people like us. And this is not just my experience, it's the experience of all the other coaches that I've worked with who are like us, where other strategies just don't work because they feel horrid and we need to do things a different way, but in a way that works, in a way that actually gets results. And I can hand on heart say, my business is the most successful it's ever been, and I really firmly put that down to the way that I show up in my business and me applying all the things that I teach inside Wholehearted Business in my own way. So yeah, I love it, and I really hope that you will come and join us inside Wholehearted Business. Do go and check it out. Like I say, the doors close on Thursday the 25th of September. If you are watching or listening to this later on outside of this window, we open basically every September and every March, so you can get on the wait list. If you head over to the website and it's shut, join the wait list and you'll get to know the first time we reopen. Okay guys, I hope you have a beautiful week, and I will be back next week with lots more. See you then. Bye.